Robert Knight for Flashpoints.
In Berkeley, I'm Dennis Bernstein. You're listening to Flashpoints on Pacifica Radio. Coming up, we're going to be talking about the Iraq War, 5 years into it, and the resignation of a key general today that may have been the sort of the one holding the administration back from going to a war in Iran. We're going to take a look at that in a little bit. And later on in the broadcast, we're going to be talking about the gentrification, the stealing of property from black people all over this country, and it's happening many, many different ways. But now we're delighted to be joined by presidential hopeful, former Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney, a favorite of us on this show. And let me first say, Cynthia, if Barack or Hillary wants to come in and have their equal time, they should just show up and I'll put them on, but it's a delight to have you with us.
Well, thank you so much, Dennis. You know, whenever I'm in the area, I will always be a guest on your show. I am watching all of the subjects that you mentioned that are coming up on your show with a lot of interest. Of course, I've been to 23 states, and everywhere I go, gentrification is on the lips of the residents who are threatened with the loss of their neighborhoods, the loss of their community. And at the same time, we've got the subprime mortgage crisis, where individuals are being threatened with the loss of their life savings, the loss of their homes. And so we've got some really severe issues that are confronting our country. And I would hope that everyone in the presidential campaign would be talking about these issues. Let me also say something that I've noticed that isn't really being talked about that much. You know, I probably am the poster child for crossover voting, with it having happened to me in my congressional elections twice down in Georgia, because we have the open primary in Georgia. But it's interesting that the Republicans are making mischief all over the country in a nationwide, what appears to be a nationwide national crossover voting campaign. And I'm wondering the extent to which it is Republican votes that are determining the outcome of the Democratic primaries by state. I intend to do some research on this because it is clear with the pronunciations of Rush Limbaugh recently and Laura Ingraham, but even more earlier than that, that the Republicans have taken an active interest in doing on a national scale what they did to me. The question then becomes, what is the extent to which what we are seeing played out as the Democratic primary is actually a reflection of the will of Democratic voters?
Well, of course, that is the question and the issue of the day. And we know, Cynthia McKinney, that as long as there is so much big money in these campaigns and that we see Wall Street still calling the shots in terms of who's elected by virtue of the fact that you need between 500 million and more, I guess, to get elected now, that it becomes a real cloud over really it's not about who's running, but it's what will happen to them if they happen to get elected. Let's just say that Barack Obama is elected president of the United States. Do we believe that he has the power, given the fact, for instance, that his current finance chair, Penny Pritzker, was the leader, a subprime queen? You talked about black people and people of color losing their equity, their houses, probably their only equity in this world. Here you've got, leading the Barack Obama campaign, the woman, I'm not talking just about a go-go banker, but somebody who designed the instruments to package, to bundle, and sell to Wall Street. Is he a free man in Paris?
Until we have public financing, complete public financing of our elections, all of them, then we are going to have constraints put on our representatives due to the personal pecuniary interests of those who make huge campaign contributions to them.
Your response to the Robert just outlined the situation with Geraldine Ferraro today, saying that Obama only got where he is because of who he is. What's your response?
I'm
funny,
watching
isn't it?
I watch with so much interest the Democrats try to dance around the issue of race when in 2000 they could have defended black voters against the presidency of George W. Bush, but they did not. In 2004, they could have investigated the disfranchisement of black voters and the systematic creation of these long lines and the discouragement to voting that took place in Ohio, but they did not. And so, it's all of this is just very interesting. What really needs to happen is that we need to focus on the issues. And Hillary was correct when she said that her campaign needs to focus on the issues. And so, for example, with the departure of the admiral today, I believe.
You're talking about Admiral William Fallon, who was the U.S. military commander for the Middle East, who resigned because I guess he was a little nervous about a possible invasion in Iran.
Now, that should give us extreme cause for concern. And the presidential candidates of the major parties need to say right now that they would under no circumstance support any military strike on Iran. And in fact, it's my understanding that U.S. Airplanes strafed cities in Somalia. What exactly is going on with the use of military force? We need to reduce our militarism. We need to reduce the amount of money that goes to the Pentagon. We need to reduce the face of military violence that we present to the rest of the world in terms of even the monies that we spend on security, whether it's Homeland Security, Department of State, or the Pentagon. 90% of what we spend goes to a military face that is projected to the world. The United States has far more to give the world than our bombs and our missiles and our soldiers.
What would be your policy, Cynthia McKinney, in terms of if you inherited the war, how would you deal with it?
I would instruct the Joint Chiefs of Staff to draw up a plan for the disengagement of our forces from Iraq. And not only would I ask them to draw up such a plan that would bring our troops home as quickly as possible, I would also ask them to draw up a plan so that we would withdraw all of our troops from the hundreds of countries around the world. I would move to rename the Department of State as the Department of Peace so that the world would know that we truly had made a change in our country and that the face that we're going to project to the world is one of peace and the extension of our hand in fraternity.
Help us understand, give us a little bit of understanding about this. You mentioned the subprime meltdown, and obviously the people in this country don't even begin to have an idea of how devastating the loss is going to be. Today, Merrill Lynch announces that it lost $7.8 billion on subprime lending. And, of course, everybody's starting to blame these greedy people, these working-class people who just jumped in and got in over their heads, and they were greedy, and so, now we're stuck with the bill. Is that how you see it?
Well, who